Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we've got a massive episode for you. We're breaking down a visit that made history and a Canadian initiative under Mark Carney that's literally changing the game for global defense. Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, the historic visit. Croatia's PM Andrej Plenković is making a historic visit to Canada, and it's a big deal. Second, the game changer. Mark Carney's Defense, Security and Resilience Bank, or DSRB, is a $135 billion project that will shake up the world of procurement. Third, keeping it safe. How this bank is built to be Trump-proof, and why that matters for all of us. And fourth, the final question. What about DSRB's data sovereignty? Let's dive right in. So, Croatia's Prime Minister is in the middle of a historic visit to Canada from June 22nd to 24th. And it's the first time a sitting Croatian PM has ever made an official trip to Canada. That alone tells you how much the relationship has grown. Yeah, and right off the bat, they signed a major defense and drone manufacturing pact. Canada's remote robotic and Croatia's Orca teaming up to expand advanced drone production right here in Canada. That means high-tech jobs and cutting-edge gear for all our forces. They also doubled down on economic ties. Trade is up 1/3 in the last year alone. The orange fascist gangster tried to control Canada's trade. Carney said screw that and open new doors to the world. Canada and Croatia also aligned on transatlantic security and reaffirming support for Ukraine. But here's the kicker. Carney is using this visit to pitch the Defense, Security and Resilience Bank to Croatia's PM. And honestly, that might be the biggest story to come out of the summit. So grab your chips and Carney on. Now let's talk about the main event, Mark Carney's Defense, Security and Resilience Bank. This is a landmark initiative. Think of it as the NATO bank, modeled after the World Bank, but built specifically for defense. It's owned by a coalition of democratic nations, and its goal is to raise a massive $135 billion in private capital without adding to government debt. That's why that matters. Instead of relying purely on taxpayers' dollar, the DSRB pools sovereign capital and issues AAA-rated bonds on international markets. That gives trusted allies long-term, low-cost financing for defense projects without cutting healthcare, education, and any other social programs. It also solves a huge problem for defense suppliers, because traditional banks have been reluctant to lend money to weapon manufacturers because of ESG rules. The DSRB closes that gap. They give small and medium-sized enterprises the credit they need to scale up production fast. And that, my friends, is a big game changer. This isn't just about money, it's about strategic autonomy. The DSRB allows democratic allies to build their own financial safety net, independent of any single country's political whims. I wonder what country would come to mind? Do you have any ideas? Folks, this is a very important point. The DSRB was designed to be safe from political interference. I think they call it Trump-proof. The US, under the orange fascist gangster, the most corrupted president in US history, have been pushing protectionist policies and threatening tariffs against allies like Canada and the EU. And that's exactly what spurred this bank into action. Allies realized they couldn't rely on the US as a permanent security blanket. Oh God. So they called up on Mark Carney, a heavyweight in international banking, to find a solution for that problem. And they built a DSRB to be Trump-proofed. The DSRB is owned by 19 funding nations and no single country has a veto. Decisions are made by a collective board of governors. And guess where the headquarters are? Right here in Canada. By anchoring the bank on Canadian soil, it falls under our jurisdiction and international diplomatic protection, not Washington. Even though American mega banks like JP Morgan are involved as partners, they can control the DSRB. The money is protected by an international charter that grants diplomatic immunity. So, no matter how corrupt a US president can't freeze or seize it. Period. Now, before we wrap up, there is a thought that lingers on my mind. I hope when the DSRB opens its doors, our Canadian and EU technicians have managed to make our sensitive data and data sharing safe, since at that point we will still be relying on Palantir. The DSRB is a huge step forward, but it won't matter if we're still leaving our digital borders wide open. For that, check out my video from June 20th. The link is at the end of this video and also in the description below. Because we need to be just as serious about protecting our data as we are about building this bank. Alright folks, let's land this plane. The DSRB is a massive win for Canada, no doubt about that. We are hosting the global headquarters, creating up to 3,500 high-paying jobs and positioning ourselves as the financial anchor on Western security. Canadian tech startups, drone makers and AI firms will finally have access to the credit they need to compete globally. And we are doing it all without jacking up taxes or cutting essential services. The bank is moving fast. The legal frameworks are written. The 19 funding nations are on board. And this summer, we are selecting DSRB headquarters, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal or Ottawa. By the end of 2026, the DSRB will be fully operational. So here's my question for you. Do you see how Mark Carney's initiatives, trade, defense and security deals, now slowly coming all together? Hit that like button if you're proud of Canada's role in this, and subscribe so you don't miss my next update. And don't forget to check out my video on data sovereignty. It is a must-watch. Elbows up, Canada. This is our moment. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkula with Europe Curious, where we don't just repeat the daily headlines, but open the curtain so you can see for yourself what's really behind it. See you in the next one.